Hello everybody, and welcome to this episode of Find Out What's in Pelenta's Forest. So grab yourself a glass of water or a cup of tea and spend the next few minutes with me. Yes, I'm drinking out of a Tostitos glass, but what do I always tell you? Don't believe everything you hear and check your facts. Do your own research. What that means is, don't believe everything that comes out of my mouth because I might be telling you a lie. Don't you want to know what my butterflies are saying? I think you do. Don't you want to know what my butterflies are talking? This is Find Out What's in Pelenta's Forest. Anyway, what's happening? How are you guys doing? How is life treating you? Because I want to know. How's life been treating you? See, you made it through the holidays. You made it through January, February. Now it's March. People are already talking about what they're going to do for the 4th of July. But what I'm talking about right now is going to knock your stinking socks off. Hopefully your socks aren't stinking. Hopefully they smell good. Anyway, enough about that. Listen to this, okay? Lots of stuff to tell you. So, I was out shopping the other day, and, you know, people for some reason seem to think it's safe to just walk up and start talking to me. It happens to me all the time. And this lady bumped into me. You know, we looked at each other. She said, "Excuse me." And I says, "Oh, no problem." So we started talking, okay? We actually held a conversation. It was a great conversation. The lady was super, super nice. The way we conversed, it was almost like, you know, two old friends hadn't seen each other in a long time. Well, let me tell you, as she turned around and walked away, I noticed her jacket. And this is what she had on the back of her jacket. Hopefully you can see that. Well, if you don't know what this is, it is a Baphomet. That's how you pronounce it. It is a Baphomet statue. And as you can see, it's got the goat head. It has breasts. You know, it's a man, obviously. It's got a pentagram on its head and all that kind of stuff. So after I saw her jacket, I started thinking, you know what? I want to learn more about this. What is the big deal with everybody's freaking out about this Baphomet stuff? So found this article, and it says, a controversial statue unveiled by the Satanic Temple at a secret ceremony in Detroit has attracted protest. But who is the goat-headed figure? And what do the elements of the statue symbolize? So I went and did all this research, just enough to get into a 15-minute video. I'm cutting my videos down. I'm much shorter than they used to be. But then I found this one. Now, this is the 9-foot tall bronze statue of the Baphomet. And as you can see, there's a little girl and a little boy standing in the picture. I thought it was quite interesting, so I had to read up on it. Now, let's see. The name Baphomet actually dates back to the Inquisition and torture of the Knights Templar. About 1100 who, according to French chronicles of the Crusades, confessed to worshiping a heathen idol called Baphomet. You know, it's funny how we get comfortable and we just start using words like heifer and heathen and things like that, because there is the theme song from the movie Suicide Squad is by 21 Pilots, I believe. And the name of the song is called Heathens. And of course he says, all my friends are heathens, take it slow. You know, Please don't make any sudden moves. You don't know the half of the abuse. It's a pretty cool song, but you hear people using all these words. Well, heathen has to do with this thing right here. It's a heathen idol. So some scholars believed that Baphomet was simply a corruption of Muhammad, otherwise known as the Prophet Muhammad. But over the years, as the mystery and speculation around the Templars has grown, so too have the interpretations of the word and its meaning. Oh, excuse me. Now, one elaborate interpretation even drove the plot in Dan Brown's historical thriller, The Da Vinci Code. And that is where the word Baphomet is decoded and translated to mean Sophia or wisdom. Now, when I saw Sophia, it automatically triggered a memory in my mind because, that new female robot, his name is Sophia, and rumor has it, she just got citizenship in Saudi Arabia. Now, I haven't researched that yet because it sounds absolutely ridiculous. How are you going to give a robot citizenship or rights? I'm sorry. It is a machine that will never, ever have a heart or a beating soul like we do. It cannot decipher between right and wrong and love and pain and feelings. But we're moving into an age now where people are less and less inclined to deal with people. They rather deal with the robot, which just sounds ridiculous to me, but there you go. But when you get a minute, definitely look up that robot, Sophia, that talks and blinks her eyes and acts like it's human. But getting back to this Baphomet, this is Levi's Baphomet, and this is the original depiction of the Baphomet. And as you can see, it is a hermaphrodite statue. It's got a man's body, a goat head with horns, a pentagram. It has breast, and from where I come from, this is either Scout's honor or the peace sign. So why is he has the peace sign up and then also the peace sign down? And then you could also see this one, which is quite interesting. Like I said, this is most definitely a little Caucasian girl because of her hair, but with that little afro, that has to be a little black boy. That's just what I'm assuming here. So moving on, it says here that the bronze statue is nearly 9 feet tall, and it depicts a winged hermaphrodite known as Baphomet, flanked by 2 smiling children looking up to it. Now, I thought this was interesting because right here it says that we hope all children will see this as a beautiful work of art. There is nothing to be afraid of. That's what the children symbolizes. Now, the goat's face. Now, here we go. This is, I'm not saying that it's evil or it's the devil. I'm just reporting the story. But this is how we defend things that are evil and scary and make them look nice. Because listen at this. It says, the goat's face has a neutral expression. It's not demonic, ferocious, or monstrous as people make it out to be. If you look at it without the cultural baggage, but do children really have nothing to be afraid of from Satan himself? I don't think children approaching the monument without being primed by propaganda will find anything horrific about it. Well, I kind of agree with that because with all the blood and gore in the video games now and all the violence and things that are going on, I mean, the average kid that walked up to this and just looked at it, I mean, does it look scary? Does that scare you when you see it? And actually, when you do see something like this, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? do you automatically think of, something evil or dark? Or do you look at that and think, whoa, that's a nice piece of artwork. I wonder who's responsible for that. Well, I don't know. But here it says, long term, the Satanic Temple wants to move the piece 900 miles southwest and erect it opposite a Ten Commandments monument outside Oklahoma City's Capitol building. Now, this plan was thrown into doubt when Oklahoma's Supreme Court ruled that the use of state property to benefit a religion is banned under the state constitution. Now, the fate of both the Satanist statue and the Ten Commandments monument is now unclear. Because, see, what's happening is we're getting into this fine line of free speech. So, not saying this is hate speech, but is all speech freedom of speech? Even if it's hateful, disgusting words coming out of your mouth? Is that still free speech? If we start banning what people can say and do, aren't we modifying their free speech? I don't know. Ask yourself that question. But the best known modern image of the Baphomet was drawn in 1856 by the French occultist Eliphas Levi. Now, in his book, Transcendental Magic, its doctrine and ritual is what he got into. And the book is, once again, if you want to look it up, it's Transcendental Magic, its doctrine and ritual. Now, he envisioned a winged hermaphrodite with a torch between his horns and a pentagram on his forehead. Its arms bore the Latin words Salve Coagula, which means separate and joined together. The powers of binding and loosing usurped from God. Now, it's funny how they use God and Satan in the exact same sentence. But supposedly, Levi's drawing was the inspiration for the Satanic Temple's new monument. It contains all these binary opposites, okay? It has above and below. It's part animal, part human, and it's male and female. And it embodies opposites and celebrates contrast. Now, so far, what I've read, I don't hear anything disrespectful or evil. I just hear an explanation. So let's move on. Now, the two finger salute. The two fingers on the right hand point up and two on the left hand point down. That means as above, so below. But these words and the accompanying gesture are familiar to occultists. They are drawn from the ancient works of Hermes, which is Greek, and Trismegistus. Now, these writings became popular during the Renaissance and the Reformation. Now, the phrase is also used in religion. It's also used in religion, but it's used in relation to science, the universe, and God. But Levi wrote that by making the gesture his Baphomet, it actually expresses the perfect harmony of mercy with justice. But we're not about indoctrinating children. For the most part, children are forced into religion. Now, that's something that we definitely don't care to do, so they say. But the Catechist says that on the Baphomet's stomach, it's an old Greek symbol of two serpents intertwined around a staff. Now, this staff was supposedly carried by Hermes and heralds in general, okay? Now, they say that it symbolizes trade, negotiation, reciprocity, and was co-opted into the Baphomet by Levi. Now, for us, it symbolizes reconciliation of the opposites, such as having a satanic monument opposite of a Christian one. Well, we think that's a powerful message when it's sitting opposite the 10 Commandments. You can have these dualities, differences, without conflict. So what we're talking about is, you have the Bible, the Christian Bible, the King James Version or the Old Testament, whatever you want to call it, and right next to it, you have the Satanic Bible. Something about that just seems odd. And there's a lot of psychology going on right here too, because you could say things like, well, why can't we have this next to Jesus on the crucifix? What's the big deal? There's no swear words on this statue. There's no racial undertones. Nobody's being called out of their name. It's not inciting domestic violence or abuse or riots. It's just a harmless statue. So what's everybody getting so upset about? I don't know. But the breast. Let's talk about the breast. Levi's Baphomet was a hermaphrodite with breast. But later down the line, they took the breast off because the temple did not want to get embroiled in a debate about gender, which might distract from what it believes are the more important messages of the Baphomet. Instead, he says the boy and the girl reflect male and female dualism. Now, the pentagram is seen on his forehead and also on the back of the throne behind him. Now, the pentagram is a widely recognized satanic symbol, and it often appears inverted. Now, St. Peter's cross is also inverted too, but from what I heard, the reason why St. Peter's cross was inverted is because he had himself crucified upside down because, and he said, Peter, you're going to deny me 3 times. And he says, no, my Lord, I'm not going to. Don't quote me. Like I said, check your facts. I might have it a little bit mixed up. But from what I've read and heard, that's why Peter's cross was, inverted and upside down. But they also showed that during Satanic Temple's unveiling ceremony. Now, the inversion is Satan's perception, and it asks people to reconsider their cultural grounding, look at the evidence, and reconsider their values. Now, you have this one-sided vision that's institutionalized religion as the arbiters of moral correctness. It prevents them from considering whether they could be incorrect today on issues such as gay marriage and reproductive rights. Now, it's true, you don't have to identify with Satan to take on these causes, but the image of Satan resonates for all of us. Now, the torch between the horns. The torch of knowledge is the middle horn. It glorifies the pursuit of knowledge. Now, we put a high value on that. We really do in society. But it's really central to our beliefs in general. Now, as Levi wrote, the flame of intelligence shining between his horns is the magic light of the universal balance. The image of the soul elevated above matter as the flame is being tied to matter and it shines above it. Now, getting to the inscriptions. These have not yet been added, but the Satanic Temple gave details of their plans in a statement late last year, which is 2017. Now, on the front of the statue, above the inverted pentagram, will be one of the Satanic Temple's 7 fundamental tenets. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word. The back of the stone slab will display a passage from Lord Byron's dramatic work, Cain, that reads, "Then who was the demon? He who would not let ye live, or he who would have made ye live forever." In the joy and power of knowledge. Sorry, you guys, I'm just getting over a cold. So then it says, what is the Satanic Temple? Okay. The group describes itself as Satanists, secularists, and advocates for individual liberty. Now, we understand the satanic figure is a symbol of man's inherent nature. It's representative of the eternal rebel, enlightened inquiry, and personal freedom rather than a supernatural deity or being, which they're probably talking about God when they say that. But, we actively provide outreach and participation in public affairs where the issues might benefit from rational satanic insights. So, what do you think? I'm losing my voice now, you guys. Sorry. I'll ask you again. When you see this statue, what goes through your mind? Do you like it? Is it offensive? What do you think about there being a little black boy here with an afro and a little white girl? What do you think about the statue having breasts? Do you think the pentagram is evil? And the snake wrapped around the staff is supposedly a good sign. And then look at his hooved feet. Do you think that this is something that children should see? What do you think about that? I don't know. But I'll tell you one thing. I'm out of time. Well, I'll pick this up in the next episode because I have a couple more things to tell you about this statue and Satanists. Because believe it or not, half of the world is in the closet about worshiping the devil. And I've heard some bizarre statements made by other sects, and they, not sex like S-E-X, but sex, S-E-C. And I've heard people say that everything got twisted up and reversed. So we're actually doing everything backward. The Satanic Bible is the real word of God. And our Bible that Christians and Jews and Catholics know is actually the wrong Bible. And a lot of people, believe it or not, are convinced that Jesus is not the way, that Satan is. What do you think about that? Scientists have a lot to say about it. So, I don't know. I think it's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. And now, all right. Well, now I can't get my music to work again. I don't know what to tell y'all. So anyway, let's see here. Go out into the world and be good to yourself. Be good to everybody else. And if you do decide to do something crazy, just own it. Don't blame it on the devil. He's got enough problems, okay? You always hear people saying, the devil made me do it, the devil made me do it. Listen, be accountable for what you're doing. And go look this stuff up because it's pretty interesting. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I am so very grateful for everything. And I am grateful for you too. So, have a fabulous, fabulous day. You can find my book everywhere books are sold. And be nice to people. Be nice to people. And also be good to yourself. And I will see you next time on Find Out What Is in My Forest.